Introduction: The Woman Who Reclaimed a Nation. The arc of American history is often told through grand narratives of conquest and expansion, of celebrated figures whose legacies are etched in monuments and textbooks. But beneath these sweeping tales lies another, equally powerful story, one of resilience, of persistent resistance, and of profound self-determination. It is within this deeper current that the extraordinary life of Wilma Mankiller flows, a woman whose name, ironically, meant medicine person, or healer in the Cherokee tradition, and whose life embodied precisely that power to mend and restore. Born in 1945 into the heart of the Cherokee Nation in Oklahoma, Wilma Mankiller's early years were rooted in the communal wisdom and deep spiritual connection to the land that defined her people. Yet, the mid-20th century was a time of forced assimilation, and at the tender age of 11, her family became unwilling participants in the U.S. government's Indian Relocation Act. Torn from their ancestral home, they were thrust into the bustling, alien world of San Francisco, a move that would expose young Wilma to poverty, discrimination, and a profound sense of displacement. This traumatic uprooting, however, became an unexpected crucible. The vibrant, often radical, counterculture of 1960s San Francisco, pulsating with the energy of the civil rights movement, Black Panthers, and burgeoning feminism, ignited a fire within her. It was here, amidst the calls for justice and self-determination, particularly during the pivotal 1969 Alcatraz occupation, that Wilma Mankiller found her purpose. She realized that her personal pain mirrored the systemic injustices faced by Native peoples across the continent, and she committed herself to advocacy. But the city was not her ultimate destination. A profound call to return to her roots, to serve her own people directly, led her back to Oklahoma with her children. What she found was a Cherokee Nation struggling with fractured infrastructure, pervasive poverty, and the lingering effects of colonial policies. Yet she also found an enduring spirit, a community yearning for renewal. It was through grassroots efforts, most famously organizing the residents of Bell, Oklahoma, to build their own water system by hand, that Wilma demonstrated a unique, empowering form of leadership. She didn't just solve problems, she rebuilt collective will. This quiet yet powerful work captured the attention of Principal Chief Ross Swimmer, who, in a groundbreaking move in 1983, appointed her deputy chief. The backlash was immediate and fierce, a storm of sexism and traditionalist resistance. But Wilma met it with unwavering calm, her quiet determination, empathetic communication, and undeniable results steadily chipping away at the prejudice. When Chief Swimmer stepped down in 1985, Wilma Mankiller ascended to the highest office, becoming the first female principal chief of the Cherokee Nation, a monumental moment that reclaimed ancient matriarchal power for a modern era. For the next 10 years, despite battling debilitating health issues, Chief Mankiller transformed the Cherokee Nation. She championed sovereignty, fighting federal overreach while building robust tribal institutions. She revolutionized healthcare and education, modernized infrastructure, and fostered a vibrant cultural renaissance. She became a national figure, receiving the Presidential Medal of Freedom and an international voice, teaching Indigenous governance to global audiences. Wilma Mankiller was more than a political leader. She was a storyteller, an author, a mentor, and a matriarch who redefined what it meant to lead. This book delves into the life of this remarkable woman, from her humble beginnings and the trauma of relocation to her emergence as a global icon. It explores her unwavering belief in the power of community, her quiet strength in the face of adversity, and her profound dedication to her people. Her story is a testament to the enduring human spirit, a powerful narrative of how one woman, rooted in ancient traditions and ignited by a passion for justice, could not only reclaim a nation, but also inspire a world. Her legacy is not just etched in history, it lives on, a guiding light for all who seek to heal, empower, and build a better future, one community, one nation at a time. Chapter 1. Born of Two Worlds. The year 1945, though marked by the waning echoes of a global war, brought a quiet dawn to a small, unassuming house in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. It was here, within the heart of the Cherokee Nation, that Wilma Mankiller drew her first breath. Her birth, on November 18th, was more than just the arrival of a new individual. It was the weaving of threads from two distinct tapestries, a testament to a heritage both ancient and recently intertwined. Her father, Charlie Mankiller, was a full-blood Cherokee, his roots stretching deep into the red earth of Oklahoma, back through generations who had endured the Trail of Tears and persevered on ancestral lands. From him, Wilma inherited not just her striking features, but a profound connection to the land, its stories, and the resilient spirit of her people. The name Mankiller itself, far from its modern connotations, was a testament to this deep lineage. In the Cherokee tradition, names often reflected clan identity, historical events, or even characteristics. For women, names like Mankiller could denote fierce protectors of the community, women of strength and wisdom, who played vital roles in the defense and well-being of the nation. Her mother, Clara Irene Sitten, brought a different world into focus. Of Dutch-Irish descent, Clara represented the European influence that had irrevocably altered the landscape of Native America. While her heritage was distinct from Charlie's, it was her embrace of Cherokee ways, her respect for his culture, that forged a cohesive family unit. This blend of backgrounds meant that from her earliest days, Wilma navigated a complex identity, standing at the crossroads of Indigenous tradition and the broader American experience. Wilma's early childhood was steeped in the rich spiritual and cultural foundations of her Cherokee upbringing. The Mankiller family lived a simple life, deeply connected to the land and the rhythms of nature. She learned the importance of communal responsibility, the interconnectedness of all living things, and the profound wisdom embedded in Cherokee oral traditions. Her grandparents, fluent in the Cherokee language, were living libraries of ancestral knowledge, sharing stories of the beloved people, their triumphs, their sorrows, and their enduring hope. These tales, told around crackling fires or under the vast Oklahoma sky, imbued Wilma with a sense of belonging and a deep understanding of her place in a long, unbroken lineage. Crucially, her upbringing introduced her to the powerful role of women in pre-colonial Cherokee society. Unlike the patriarchal structures imposed by European cultures, the Cherokee Nation had historically been a matriarchal society. Women held significant power and influence. They owned property, headed households, participated in council meetings, and even served as warriors and spiritual leaders. Clans were traced through the mother's line, giving women immense social and political standing. While the arrival of European settlers and the subsequent pressures had eroded some of these traditional roles, the memory and respect for these matrilineal values persisted within families like the Mankillers. Wilma witnessed her own mother and aunts embodying strength, resilience, and quiet authority. These early lessons, delivered not through formal schooling, but through lived experience and ancestral memory, planted the first seeds of the extraordinary leader she would become, a woman destined to reclaim, restore, and redefine the power inherent in her heritage. Chapter 2. The relocation that shattered everything. The idyllic innocence of Wilma's early years was abruptly shattered by a policy born of misguided good intentions and deep-seated prejudice, the Indian Relocation Act of the 1950s. This federal initiative, part of a broader termination era aimed at assimilating Native Americans into mainstream society, promised a path to prosperity and opportunity, away from the perceived limitations of reservations and tribal lands. It offered one-way bus tickets, minimal vocational training, and the alluring yet ultimately hollow prospect of a better life in bustling urban centers. For the Mankillers, like thousands of other Native families across the nation, it was less an opportunity and more a coerced migration, a governmental hand pushing them away from their ancestral roots. In 1956, when Wilma was 11, her father, Charlie Mankiller, made the agonizing decision to move their family of 11 children from their cherished home in Oklahoma. He had heard the promises, seen the glossy pamphlets, and hoped desperately to find work and a brighter future for his growing family. San Francisco, California, a distant, glittering metropolis, was the designated destination. The journey itself was a jarring departure from the familiar, open landscapes of the Cherokee Nation. They left behind the close-knit community, the comforting rhythms of tribal life, and the spiritual connection to the land that had defined their existence for generations. The reality of San Francisco was a brutal culture shock. The vibrant urban sprawl with its ceaseless noise, towering buildings, and anonymity was a stark contrast to the quiet, communal life they had known. The promised opportunities proved largely illusory. The Mankillers found themselves crammed into a dilapidated public housing project in the city's Tenderloin district, a far cry from the rural Oklahoma they had departed. Poverty, already a familiar adversary, deepened its grip. Charlie, skilled in the ways of the land, struggled to find stable employment in a city that had little use for his traditional knowledge. The children, thrust into a bewildering school system, faced confusion and isolation. Perhaps most painful was the insidious erosion of their tribal identity. Away from their elders, their language, and their traditional ceremonies, the threads connecting them to their heritage began to fray. Racism, both overt and subtle, became a daily reality. They were Indians, a foreign curiosity in a city that understood little of their history or culture. Wilma felt the sting of stereotypes, the weight of invisibility. The sense of displacement was profound, a constant ache of longing for the familiar, for the feeling of belonging that had been ripped away. The vibrant spirit of the Cherokee Nation, so integral to her being, seemed to dim in the harsh glare of urban alienation. Yet, amidst the struggle and the sorrow, something else began to stir within young Wilma. The pain of relocation, the humiliation of poverty, and the indignity of racism did not break her. Instead, they began to forge a nascent understanding of injustice. She witnessed her parents' quiet strength in the face of adversity, but also their struggle. The seeds of resentment for a system that could uproot families and shatter cultures were planted deep within her. It was a slow, simmering realization that their displacement was not an isolated misfortune, but part of a larger pattern of governmental policies that had systematically undermined Native sovereignty and well-being. This period of intense dislocation, though traumatic, became an unwitting crucible, igniting the first sparks of political awareness and a simmering resolve that would, in time, erupt into a powerful flame of advocacy. Chapter 3: San Francisco and the Fire of Activism. The 1960s transformed San Francisco into a crucible of social change, a vibrant, often turbulent, epicenter of America's counterculture revolution. For a young Wilma Mankiller, still grappling with the wounds of relocation and the sting of urban displacement, the city's radical energy became an unexpected university. The air buzzed with fervent calls for justice, equality, and liberation. The Black Panthers roared their demands for self-determination, their message of empowerment resonating deeply within her. Feminism was taking root, challenging traditional gender roles and inspiring women to find their voices. And the Civil Rights Movement, with its unwavering pursuit of racial equality, provided a powerful blueprint for organized resistance. Wilma, by now a young woman, was no longer a passive observer. She was immersed in this transformative atmosphere, inhaling the scent of revolution. This dynamic environment became fertile ground for Wilma's burgeoning political consciousness. She found herself exposed to ideas that directly challenged the status quo and resonated with her own lived experiences of injustice. The concept of systemic oppression, previously an unspoken ache, now had a vocabulary. She listened, she learned, and she began to connect her family's forced relocation to the broader struggles for civil rights and social justice. The raw anger and articulate demands of groups like the Black Panthers offered a stark contrast to the quiet suffering she had witnessed, providing a model for active resistance rather than passive endurance. It was during this period that Wilma began to actively seek out and connect with Native advocacy groups forming within the Bay Area. She found solace in solidarity with other Indigenous people who had been similarly displaced by the Relocation Act, sharing stories of alienation and a shared yearning for community and cultural preservation. These groups, often small and nascent, provided a crucial space for organizing, discussing common grievances, and envisioning a future where Native voices were heard and Native sovereignty respected. She discovered a vibrant, if fragmented, network of activists committed to reigniting the flame of Indigenous pride and demanding justice for historical wrongs. The culmination of this period of intellectual and emotional awakening arrived in 1969 with the pivotal occupation of Alcatraz Island. On November 20th, a group of Native American activists, calling themselves Indians of All Tribes, seized the abandoned federal penitentiary, declaring it Indian land by right of discovery. Their demands were clear. The island should be used to establish an Indian cultural center, a spiritual retreat, and a university. For Wilma, the Alcatraz occupation was nothing short of an epiphany. She visited the island multiple times, bringing supplies and witnessing firsthand the power of collective action. The occupation was more than a protest. It was a powerful statement of sovereignty, a reclaiming of identity, and a defiant rejection of assimilationist policies. For Wilma, it galvanized her purpose. She saw the courage, the unity, and the unwavering conviction of her people standing together against overwhelming odds. The spirit of Alcatraz, a fusion of deep-seated historical grievance and a fierce determination for self-determination, solidified her path. It was here, amidst the windswept ruins of a former prison, that Wilma Mankiller fully committed herself to the struggle for Native rights. The fire of activism, kindled by the injustices of her youth, now burned brightly within her, guiding her towards a future dedicated to serving her people. Chapter 4: Back to the Nation. By the mid-1970s, the passionate fire of activism that had blazed within Wilma Mankiller in San Francisco had begun to yearn for a different kind of fuel. While the urban movements had sharpened her political awareness and ignited her commitment to social justice, a deeper, more personal calling pulled at her. After her divorce, and with her young daughters, Gina and Felicia, by her side, Wilma made the courageous and deeply significant decision to return home. It was not merely a geographical move, but a spiritual and ancestral pilgrimage back to the Cherokee Nation in Oklahoma, a place she had left as a child, forced into an unfamiliar world. The return was, in many ways, a homecoming of the soul. Reconnecting with the Cherokee community was a gradual process, one of humility and rediscovery. The extended family that had anchored her early childhood welcomed her back, offering not judgment for her time away, but the comforting embrace of shared heritage. She reacquainted herself with the rhythms of rural Cherokee life, the gentle cadence of the language, and the enduring strength of cultural traditions that had persevered despite relentless pressures. It was a healing balm after the chaotic intensity of urban activism, allowing her to ground herself anew in the land and the people who are intrinsically part of her identity. However, the rosy glow of reunion quickly gave way to a stark reality. While the spirit of the Cherokee people remained indomitable, the physical conditions of the nation were dire. Wilma observed widespread poverty that gripped families, leaving many without basic necessities. The infrastructure was broken, mirroring the broken promises of federal policies. Roads were unpaved and treacherous, housing was often substandard, and access to clean water and adequate health care was severely limited. Schools struggled with inadequate resources, and opportunities for economic development were scarce. It became painfully clear that while she had fought for abstract concepts of justice in the city, the most pressing need for change lay directly within her own community, demanding grassroots solutions. With characteristic determination, Wilma didn't wait for grand gestures or federal intervention. She understood that meaningful change often begins at the most local level, one person, one family, one community at a time. She started small, applying her newfound political acumen and her innate organizational skills to tangible needs. Her initial efforts focused on community programs and education initiatives. She worked tirelessly, often on a volunteer basis, on projects aimed at improving the lives of her neighbors. Whether it was helping to establish a new daycare center, organizing food distribution, or assisting with adult literacy programs, Wilma embedded herself within the daily struggles and aspirations of the Cherokee people. These hands-on experiences were invaluable. They allowed her to build trust, understand the specific challenges faced by various communities within the nation, and, most importantly, demonstrate her unwavering commitment to service. This quiet, persistent work laid the essential foundation for the monumental leadership that lay ahead, proving that the most profound revolutions often begin with this simple, powerful act of helping one's own. Chapter 5. The Bellwater Project. Among the many pressing needs Wilma observed upon her return to the Cherokee Nation, one stood out as particularly stark: the dire situation in the rural community of Bell, Oklahoma. Here, amidst the rolling hills and scattered homes, the fundamental necessity of running water remained an elusive dream. Families relied on hand-dug wells, often contaminated, or hauled water from distant, unreliable sources. The lack of clean, accessible water was not merely an inconvenience. It was a daily struggle that impacted health, hygiene, and the basic dignity of life. Children were frequently sick, and women spent countless hours on the arduous task of water retrieval, time that could be spent on education, economic activity, or caring for their families. Wilma Mankiller saw not just a problem in Bell, but an opportunity, a chance to demonstrate the power of Indigenous self-determination through tangible action. She didn't arrive with a government grant or a team of external experts. Instead, she arrived with a vision and an unwavering belief in the people themselves. Her approach was deeply rooted in traditional Cherokee values of communal responsibility and collective effort. She organized the community, not as a leader dictating terms, but as a facilitator empowering her neighbors. The first step was listening. She went door to door, convened meetings in homes and churches, and listened to the frustrations, the ideas, and the quiet despair of the residents. She helped them articulate their needs and visualize a future where turning on a faucet meant clean water. Next, she spearheaded the planning. Without professional engineers, the community, under Wilma's guidance, drew up plans for a gravity-fed water system. They secured a small grant, but it was far from enough. This shortfall, however, became the project's greatest strength. Wilma convinced the residents of Bell that they held the power to build their own future. She rallied them to contribute their most valuable resource, their own labor. Men and women, young and old, volunteered tirelessly. They cleared brush, dug miles of trenches by hand, laid pipes, and constructed water towers. Wilma herself worked alongside them, shoveling dirt, coordinating efforts, and resolving disputes. It was a Herculean effort, fueled by shared determination and an indomitable spirit. This process became a powerful case study in Indigenous self-determination and local empowerment. It wasn't about waiting for external solutions. It was about internal resilience, community organizing, and the assertion of their right to control their own destiny. The Bellwater Project, completed through sheer grit and collective will, was an undeniable triumph. Clean, running water finally flowed into the homes of Bell residents, transforming daily life in profound ways. News of this remarkable achievement spread far beyond the Cherokee Nation. It garnered national attention, becoming a shining example of what a community, united and empowered, could accomplish against incredible odds. For Wilma Mankiller, the Bellwater Project cemented her reputation not just as a tireless advocate, but as a natural, intuitive leader. Her ability to inspire, organize, and mobilize people from the ground up to turn a seemingly insurmountable problem into a testament to human ingenuity and collective action marked her as a formidable force for change within her nation. The project was more than just pipes and water. It was a symbol of hope, a blueprint for the future, and a clear indication of Wilma's extraordinary capacity to lead. Chapter 6. From Advocate to Deputy Chief. Wilma Mankiller's success with the Bellwater Project and her consistent results-oriented work in other community initiatives did not go unnoticed. Her pragmatic approach to problem-solving, coupled with her unwavering commitment to the Cherokee people, caught the attention of Principal Chief Ross Swimmer. Swimmer, a forward-thinking leader who recognized the need for new perspectives and effective grassroots engagement, made a bold and unprecedented move in 1983. He appointed Wilma Mankiller as his deputy chief. The announcement sent ripples, and often shockwaves, throughout the Cherokee Nation and beyond. In a political structure that had, for generations, been overwhelmingly male-dominated, the idea of a woman holding such a high office was revolutionary, and for many, deeply unsettling. The backlash was immediate and fierce. Wilma faced a barrage of criticism, much of it steeped in blatant sexism. Some questioned her competence, dismissing her achievements as mere women's work. Others challenged her legitimacy, arguing that her urban upbringing and divorce somehow disqualified her from traditional leadership roles. There was also a palpable resistance from certain traditionalist factions, who viewed her appointment as a departure from established norms, a threat to the familiar order. The whispers and outright denunciations were constant, an invisible weight she had to carry every day. Despite the intense scrutiny and open hostility, Wilma approached her new role with characteristic grace, humility, and an unyielding focus on the work itself. She understood that trust could not be demanded. It had to be earned. Her strategy was simple but profound: communicate, listen, and deliver results. She made herself accessible, traveling extensively throughout the nation, meeting with elders, community leaders, and ordinary citizens. She listened patiently to their concerns, acknowledging their perspectives, even those critical of her. She spoke not in abstract political terms, but in the language of shared experience and common goals. Crucially, she allowed her actions to speak louder than the criticisms. She poured herself into her new responsibilities, leveraging her background in community development to expand tribal programs, improve infrastructure, and address the pressing needs of the Cherokee people. Her effectiveness was undeniable. Projects began to move forward, services improved, and the lives of ordinary citizens saw tangible benefits. She demonstrated an acute understanding of tribal governance, a sharp mind for policy, and an unshakable dedication to her duties. Slowly, painstakingly, Wilma began to build credibility within the male-dominated political structure. Her male colleagues and constituents, initially skeptical, witnessed her tireless work ethic, her strategic thinking, and her unwavering focus on the well-being of the nation. They saw that her leadership was not about personal power, but about collective progress. Her quiet determination in the face of adversity, her ability to diffuse tension with calm reason, and her consistent delivery of results chipped away at the prejudice. By proving her capabilities through her performance, Wilma Mankiller transformed widespread skepticism into grudging respect, and eventually into admiration and support, paving the way for her even greater historic ascent. Chapter 7. The First Female Chief. The political landscape of the Cherokee Nation shifted dramatically in 1985. Principal Chief Ross Swimmer, recognizing Wilma Mankiller's exceptional capabilities and the growing respect she commanded, resigned from his post to accept a federal appointment in the Bureau of Indian Affairs. With his departure, the path was cleared for a monumental moment in both Cherokee and American history. According to the Cherokee Nation's constitution, the deputy chief would ascend to the highest office. Thus, with quiet determination, Wilma Pearl Mankiller stepped into the role of principal chief, becoming the first woman ever to lead the Cherokee Nation. The historic significance of this moment was profound. For centuries, the Cherokee had been a matriarchal society, where women held immense power and influence. Clan lines were traced through mothers, property was often inherited through them, and their voices carried weight in council. However, the relentless pressures of colonization, forced removal, and the imposition of European patriarchal systems had gradually eroded these traditional structures. While women always remained the backbone of families and communities, their visible political leadership had largely diminished. Wilma's ascension was a powerful reclaiming of this ancient legacy, a visible manifestation of the enduring strength and wisdom of Cherokee women. It was a beacon of hope and a potent reminder of who the Cherokee people truly were, and could be again. Her interim appointment set the stage for the 1987 election, where Wilma faced the ultimate test of her leadership. Despite the strong track record she had built, running for the principal chief position as a woman was still a formidable challenge. The same pockets of sexism and traditionalist resistance that had surfaced during her deputy chief appointment resurfaced, often with amplified volume. Yet Wilma met these challenges with a steadfast resolve and an unparalleled ability to connect with people. She campaigned tirelessly, traveling to every corner of the nation, speaking directly to citizens. She didn't preach, she listened. She didn't promise the impossible, She offered practical solutions rooted in community engagement. Her authenticity, her quiet strength, and her genuine commitment to improving the lives of all Cherokee people resonated deeply. She spoke to elders in their native tongue, inspired young people with her vision, and earned the respect of men and women alike by demonstrating concrete results and an unwavering dedication to the nation. She won the election decisively, securing her place not just as an appointed leader, but as the democratically chosen voice of her people. The election of the first female principal chief of a major Native American nation captured significant media attention, both nationally and internationally. Headlines hailed her as a trailblazer, a symbol of progress and empowerment. News crews flocked to Tahlequah, eager to tell the story of this quiet, yet powerful woman. This media coverage was crucial. It brought the Cherokee Nation and its struggles, as well as its resilience, into the mainstream consciousness. More importantly, Wilma Mankiller's leadership became a potent symbol far beyond the boundaries of Indian country. She represented not just Native sovereignty and self-determination, but also the enduring power of women in leadership, challenging preconceived notions and inspiring countless individuals across the globe. Her ascent was a testament to the idea that true strength lies not in inherited power, but in the courage to serve, the wisdom to listen, and the unwavering belief in the potential of one's own people. Chapter 8. Sovereignty, Education, and Health. Upon assuming the mantle of Principal Chief, Wilma Mankiller immediately articulated a clear and ambitious agenda, built upon the bedrock principles of self-determination and community well-being. Her top priorities were sharply defined: solidifying Cherokee sovereignty, vastly improving health services, and enacting comprehensive education reform. These were not abstract political platforms, but deeply personal commitments, born from her own experiences of displacement, poverty, and the systemic neglect endured by her people. She understood that a truly sovereign nation must be able to care for its citizens, educate its children, and govern itself without undue external interference. A cornerstone of her administration was the radical transformation of healthcare access within the Cherokee Nation. Recognizing that federal programs were often inadequate and culturally insensitive, Wilma spearheaded the establishment of a network of community health clinics. These clinics were designed to be accessible, culturally appropriate, and focused on preventative care, providing vital services directly within Cherokee communities. She pushed for expanded programs targeting chronic diseases prevalent in Native populations and advocated for the recruitment of Native healthcare professionals. Simultaneously, she championed the expansion of early childhood education through robust Head Start programs. She believed passionately that investing in the youngest generation was paramount to the nation's future, providing children with a strong foundation and fostering a sense of cultural pride from an early age. These initiatives were more than just service delivery. They were expressions of the nation's ability to define and meet its own needs. Crucially, Wilma Mankiller's tenure as chief was marked by a relentless and strategic fight against U.S. federal overreach. She understood that true progress for the Cherokee Nation hinged on reclaiming and exercising full Cherokee governance. This often meant challenging the deeply entrenched paternalism of federal agencies that still viewed tribal nations as dependent entities rather than sovereign governments. She skillfully navigated complex legal and political landscapes, asserting the Cherokee Nation's inherent right to self-governance, jurisdiction over its lands, and control over its own resources. She engaged in direct negotiations with federal officials, testified before Congress, and worked tirelessly to redefine the government-to-government relationship, insisting on respect and recognition of tribal sovereignty as enshrined in treaties. One notable example of her unwavering commitment to sovereignty was her stance on gaming. While acknowledging the economic potential, Wilma initially approached the introduction of casinos with caution, prioritizing the long-term social well-being and self-sufficiency of the nation over quick financial gains. Her approach was always about ensuring that any economic development served the Cherokee people's interests, rather than being dictated by external pressures. She empowered tribal courts, strengthened the Cherokee Nation's legislative authority, and worked to build a robust governmental infrastructure capable of effectively managing its own affairs. Under her leadership, the Cherokee Nation began to exert its authority not just in principle, but in practice, systematically dismantling the remnants of federal control and rebuilding the foundations of a truly self-governing people. Her unwavering focus on these three pillars, sovereignty, health, and education, laid the groundwork for a revitalized nation, poised to define its own destiny. Chapter 9. Facing Sexism and Doubt. Even after her electoral victory, Wilma Mankiller's time as principal chief was far from a smooth ascent. The challenges she faced were multifarious, emanating from both external pressures and, perhaps more painfully, internal resistance within her own nation. The very act of a woman holding the highest office continued to be a source of discomfort and opposition for some. She encountered overt sexism from individuals who simply could not reconcile traditional male leadership roles with her presence, and subtle undermining from those who believed a woman lacked the necessary gravitas or strength for the position. Beyond the gender bias, Wilma also navigated a tricky ideological tightrope. She was often accused, sometimes simultaneously, of being too radical or not traditional enough. Her past involvement in urban activism and her pragmatic, modern approaches to governance led some to view her as an outsider, tainted by radical ideas from the cities. Yet, paradoxically, her efforts to modernize the nation's infrastructure and engage with the federal government could also draw criticism from those who felt she wasn't sufficiently adhering to specific traditional practices or resisting external influences fiercely enough. This constant scrutiny, the questioning of her very Cherokee identity and leadership legitimacy, was a persistent undercurrent throughout her tenure. In the face of these relentless criticisms and doubts, Wilma Mankiller refined a leadership style that would ultimately become her most powerful asset. She mastered the art of public speaking, not with fiery rhetoric, but with calm authority and genuine sincerity. Her voice, though soft, carried immense weight because it was rooted in authenticity and a deep understanding of her people's needs. She became a master of diplomacy, navigating complex political landscapes with patience and strategic thinking. Whether in negotiations with federal officials or mediating disputes within the nation, she maintained a remarkable grace under pressure, never allowing personal attacks to derail her focus on the greater good. Her leadership style was a nuanced blend of firmness, empathy, and inclusiveness. She was firm in her convictions about Cherokee sovereignty and the well-being of her people, never backing down from defending their rights. Yet, this firmness was always tempered by a profound empathy for the struggles of individuals and communities. She made decisions with the understanding that they would impact real lives, and she sought to include diverse voices in the governance process, actively seeking input from elders, youth, and all segments of the population. She understood that true leadership wasn't about dominating, but about empowering. Her ability to listen more than she spoke, to build consensus rather than impose decrees, and to consistently put the needs of the nation above personal vindication, disarmed many of her detractors. In a world accustomed to aggressive male leadership, Wilma Mankiller demonstrated that strength could also manifest as quiet resolve, profound compassion, and an unwavering commitment to the collective. Qualities that not only silenced her critics, but ultimately solidified her place as one of the most effective and beloved leaders in Cherokee history. Chapter 10. Rebuilding a Nation. Under Wilma Mankiller's transformative leadership, the Cherokee Nation embarked on an ambitious journey of rebuilding, moving beyond mere survival to robust self-sufficiency and renewed cultural pride. Her vision extended far beyond immediate crisis management. She aimed to lay the groundwork for a truly modern, thriving nation, equipped to meet the challenges of the 21st century while honoring its ancient roots. A primary focus was the modernization of Cherokee infrastructure, a tangible manifestation of self-governance. Recognizing that basic amenities were fundamental to quality of life and economic development, her administration initiated and oversaw numerous projects to improve housing, ensuring safe and affordable homes for families. Roads, long neglected and often impassable in rural areas, were paved and maintained, connecting communities and facilitating commerce. Critical social services were expanded and professionalized, ranging from elder care to mental health programs, reflecting a holistic approach to community well-being. These infrastructure developments were not just about concrete and asphalt. They were about creating the physical framework for a healthier, more connected, and more prosperous society. Wilma's tenure also saw a significant surge in tribal membership and a vibrant resurgence of cultural revival efforts. As the nation became more stable and assertive, many Cherokees who had been disconnected or alienated by past policies began to reconnect, proud to claim their heritage. Her administration actively supported initiatives to preserve and revitalize the Cherokee language, recognizing it as the soul of their identity. Traditional arts, ceremonies, and storytelling were encouraged and funded, ensuring that the wisdom and beauty of Cherokee culture would be passed down to future generations. This cultural renaissance fostered a deep sense of belonging and pride, strengthening the social fabric of the nation. Beyond the internal growth, Wilma Mankiller became a powerful and respected voice on the national stage, forging crucial alliances and collaborating with other tribes and indigenous leaders on issues of shared concern. She understood that the struggles of the Cherokee Nation were often echoed across Indian country, and that collective action amplified their impact. She worked closely with organizations like the National Congress of American Indians, advocating for tribal sovereignty, treaty rights, and increased federal funding for all Native nations. Her measured yet firm approach earned her respect in Washington, D.C., allowing her to open doors and influence policy in ways few before her had managed. Her solidarity with other indigenous peoples underscored a profound belief in the collective strength of Native America. Perhaps one of her most enduring contributions was her deliberate and conscious investment in the next generation of leaders. Wilma Mankiller was not interested in building a legacy around her own persona, but in ensuring the long-term strength and continuity of the Cherokee Nation. She actively mentored younger Native women and men, encouraging them to pursue education, engage in public service, and prepare themselves for leadership roles. She established programs and created opportunities for young Cherokees to gain experience in governance and community development, instilling in them the values of service and self-determination. She understood that a strong nation required a continuous flow of dedicated and prepared leaders. By rebuilding infrastructure, fostering cultural pride, forging national alliances, and cultivating future leadership, Wilma Mankiller not only led the Cherokee Nation into a new era of prosperity and self-governance, but ensured its enduring resilience for generations to come. Chapter 11. Health Battles and Strength of Spirit. Even as Wilma Mankiller steered the Cherokee Nation through a period of unprecedented growth and self-determination, her own body began to wage a relentless, private battle. In 1986, while still serving as principal chief, she received a devastating diagnosis: myasthenia gravis, a chronic autoimmune neuromuscular disease that causes fluctuating weakness of the voluntary muscles. This was not her first encounter with severe health crises. She had previously survived a serious car accident that left her with extensive injuries and undergone multiple kidney surgeries. But myasthenia gravis presented a new and insidious challenge, threatening to rob her of the very energy and physical capacity she needed to lead. The disease manifested itself through periods of profound fatigue, muscle weakness that affected her eyes, speech, swallowing, and limbs, and unpredictable flare-ups that often necessitated immediate medical intervention. Despite the escalating severity of her condition, and enduring numerous hospital stays and multiple surgeries to manage the disease and its complications, Wilma Mankiller steadfastly refused to relinquish her duties as principal chief. She would often work from her hospital bed, take calls between medical procedures, and return to her office as soon as physically possible, sometimes with visible signs of her struggle. Her determination was unwavering, her commitment to her people paramount. What was remarkable was not just her resilience in the face of illness, but how her strength in adversity inspired others. It was not a strength that denied her vulnerability, but one that embraced it. She did not hide her struggles. Rather, she continued to serve through them. Her willingness to appear in public, sometimes visibly fatigued or using a cane, demystified illness and disability within a leadership context. For many within the Cherokee Nation and beyond, her continued dedication in the face of such debilitating health challenges became a powerful symbol of indomitable spirit. She showed that leadership was not about physical perfection, but about courage, intellect, and an unwavering moral compass. Her perseverance resonated deeply with those who themselves faced chronic illnesses or disabilities, validating their own struggles and empowering them to find their own strength. Furthermore, Wilma Mankiller's openness about her health battles was profoundly impactful, particularly within Native communities, where health disparities and chronic illnesses are often disproportionately high. By speaking candidly about myasthenia gravis and her other health scares, she broke down stigmas surrounding illness and disability. She encouraged dialogue, fostered empathy, and subtly advocated for better healthcare access and understanding. Her personal journey became a testament to enduring hardship with grace, demonstrating that true leadership could emerge not in spite of physical limitations, but often, precisely because of the profound wisdom and empathy gained through them. Her body might have betrayed her at times, but her spirit and her commitment to her people remained unyielding, casting a long shadow of inspiration. Chapter 12. The Global Stage. Wilma Mankiller's profound impact, initially forged in the heart of the Cherokee Nation, inevitably rippled outward, earning her a place on the national and then the global stage. Her leadership transcended the boundaries of tribal politics, becoming a beacon of hope and an embodiment of resilience that resonated with diverse audiences worldwide. Her exceptional contributions to American society and to Indigenous rights were recognized with the nation's highest civilian honor. In 1998, President Bill Clinton awarded her the Presidential Medal of Freedom, a testament to her visionary leadership, her unwavering commitment to justice, and her groundbreaking achievements. This prestigious award placed her alongside historical figures who had shaped the course of the United States. Further solidifying her legacy, she was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame in 1993, recognizing her as a pioneer whose work had fundamentally advanced the cause of women's empowerment and leadership. These national honors underscored her monumental impact beyond the sphere of Native American affairs, positioning her as a figure of national significance. As her reputation grew, Wilma became a highly sought-after public speaker. Her voice, calm and articulate, carried a potent message of self-determination, cultural preservation, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. She addressed audiences at universities, conferences, and international forums, sharing not just her personal story, but the larger narrative of Indigenous peoples striving for sovereignty and a dignified future. Her international recognition swelled as people from various nations, themselves grappling with issues of minority rights, governance, and historical injustices, found inspiration in her practical successes and her philosophical approach to leadership. A particularly significant aspect of her global engagement was her commitment to teaching indigenous governance models to international audiences. She presented the Cherokee Nation's journey of rebuilding and self-governance as a viable, effective alternative to Western-centric development paradigms. She demonstrated how traditional values, communal decision-making, and a holistic approach to well-being could lead to sustainable solutions. Her insights were invaluable to developing nations, post-colonial societies, and indigenous communities worldwide who sought to reclaim their autonomy and build governance structures rooted in their own cultural contexts. She showed that sovereignty was not just about political independence, but about cultural integrity and the ability of a people to define their own path. Through her extraordinary life and relentless advocacy, Wilma Mankiller emerged as a powerful symbol. She embodied indigenous feminism, demonstrating that strength, compassion, and effective leadership could flourish in the same person, challenging both patriarchal norms within her own culture, as influenced by colonialism, and broader societal stereotypes about indigenous women. Her story became synonymous with American resilience, not the resilience of military might, but the profound, quiet strength of a people who had survived genocide, displacement, and systemic oppression, only to rise again, asserting their rights and rebuilding their nation. Wilma Mankiller, the girl from Tathliqua, who once navigated the complexities of two worlds, ultimately showed the entire world what was possible when a people, led by a visionary spirit, chose self-determination and healing. Chapter 13. Author, storyteller, matriarch. Even after stepping down from the principal chief position due to her ongoing health challenges, Wilma Mankiller's dedication to her people and her mission did not wane. Instead, it transformed, finding new avenues for impact that leveraged her profound wisdom and experience. One of her most significant post-leadership contributions was her foray into authorship, solidifying her role as a vital storyteller for her people. In 1993, she co-authored her autobiography, Mankiller, A Chief and Her People. This book was far more than a personal memoir. It was a deeply insightful narrative that intertwined her individual journey with the larger historical tapestry of the Cherokee Nation. Through her prose, she gave voice to the struggles and triumphs of her ancestors, articulated the complexities of modern tribal governance, and shared the lessons learned from a lifetime of service. The book became a crucial educational tool, offering an authentic, first-hand account of indigenous life, leadership, and resilience to a broad audience, challenging stereotypes and fostering greater understanding. Beyond her formal autobiography, Wilma actively embraced her role in preserving Cherokee oral history and highlighting the crucial, often understated, roles of women within her culture. She understood that the stories of the past were not mere anecdotes but living lessons, vital for the spiritual and cultural well-being of the nation. She sought out elders, encouraged the recording of their narratives, and ensured that the rich tapestry of Cherokee knowledge, its ceremonies, its medicinal practices, its traditional governance structures, would not be lost to time. She consistently emphasized the historical power and influence of Cherokee women, reminding her people and the world of the matriarchal foundations that had shaped their society, empowering a new generation to reclaim their rightful place. As a revered figure, Wilma naturally stepped into the role of matriarch and mentor, particularly for younger Native women. She generously shared her experiences, offering guidance, encouragement, and a powerful example of what Indigenous women could achieve. She traveled, lectured, and engaged in countless conversations, inspiring countless individuals to pursue education, civic engagement, and leadership within their own communities. Her advocacy extended fiercely to promoting tribal language initiatives, understanding that language was the very vessel of culture and identity. She supported immersion programs, curriculum development, and efforts to ensure that the Cherokee language, nearly silenced by historical trauma, would once again flourish. In her later years, Wilma Mankiller's impact expanded exponentially through her continued commitment to storytelling and education. She utilized every platform available to her, from commencement speeches to documentary appearances, to articulate the principles of self-determination, the importance of cultural identity, and the need for justice for all Indigenous peoples. She ensured that her voice, and the collective voice of the Cherokee Nation, resonated in classrooms, policy discussions, and living rooms across the globe. By chronicling her own journey and amplifying the stories of her people, Wilma Mankiller became more than just a chief. She became a timeless educator and an enduring matriarch, ensuring that the legacy of the Cherokee Nation and the power of its women would continue to inspire for generations to come. Chapter 14. Her Final Days and Eternal Voice. Wilma Mankiller's extraordinary life, marked by profound service and unwavering resilience, came to a peaceful close on February 15, 2010, at the age of 64. Her passing, following a long and courageous battle with pancreatic cancer, sent a ripple of profound grief and mourning across Indian country and far beyond. News of her death was met with an outpouring of sorrow and respect from every corner of the globe. Flags flew at half-mast, ceremonies were held in communities large and small, and countless individuals paused to reflect on the immense impact of this singular woman. Her death was not just the loss of a leader, but the loss of a guiding light, a matriarch whose wisdom and strength had uplifted so many. Tributes poured in from all quarters, reflecting the breadth and depth of her influence. Political leaders, from tribal chiefs to U.S. presidents, offered heartfelt eulogies, praising her groundbreaking achievements and her tireless advocacy for Native rights. President Barack Obama remarked on her unwavering commitment to the Cherokee Nation, calling her a visionary leader. Fellow Native leaders spoke of her as a sister, a mentor, and a beacon of hope for self-determination. Journalists recounted her historic rise and her quiet dignity in the face of adversity. But perhaps the most poignant reflections came from Native communities themselves, from elders who remembered her quiet visits, from families whose lives were tangibly improved by her programs, and from young people who saw in her a living embodiment of their own potential. Her funeral in Tahlequah was attended by thousands, a testament to the deep love and reverence she commanded. Yet, even in her final public statements and private conversations, Wilma Mankiller had always emphasized how she wished to be remembered. She consistently rejected the mantle of hero, a term she felt suggested a lone, exceptional figure disconnected from the collective. Instead, she humbly insisted on being remembered as a servant to the people. She believed that her accomplishments were not hers alone, but the result of collective effort, the embodiment of the Cherokee people's inherent strength and determination. "I want to be remembered as the first female chief of the Cherokee Nation," she once said, "but I'd like to be remembered more for the fact that I was a good chief and that I cared about the people, and I really worked hard for them." This self-effacing perspective perfectly encapsulated her authentic, community-first leadership philosophy. In accordance with her wishes, Wilma Mankiller was laid to rest in her beloved homeland, in the small, sacred cemetery at the Mankiller family allotment near Rocky Mountain, Oklahoma. Her burial in the red earth of the Cherokee Nation was deeply symbolic. It was a physical return to the roots she had fought so hard to reclaim and nourish, a closing of the circle from her birth in Tahlequah to her final resting place among her ancestors. The land, which had been the source of her earliest cultural teachings and the focus of her lifelong work, now held her in its embrace. Her grave, a simple marker, speaks volumes without grand pronouncements, reflecting the quiet strength and profound connection to place that defined her existence. Though her physical voice was silenced, Wilma Mankiller's legacy continues to speak, an eternal voice for self-determination, justice, and the enduring power of the beloved people. Chapter 15. Wilma's Living Legacy. Wilma Mankiller may have departed this world, but her spirit, her vision, and her unwavering commitment to justice continue to resonate, casting a long and vibrant shadow that defines her living legacy. Her impact on the Cherokee Nation is immeasurable, a testament to what determined, empathetic leadership can achieve. She laid the groundwork for robust tribal governance, expanded essential services that continue to uplift communities, and ignited a profound cultural revitalization that restored pride and identity. The Cherokee Nation today, a powerful and self-sufficient sovereign entity, stands as a direct embodiment of her transformative work. Beyond the nation's borders, her influence extends to every tribe striving for self-determination and every individual fighting for their rights. A key steward of her enduring vision is the Wilma Mankiller Foundation. Established to honor her life and continue her work, the foundation actively promotes her principles of social justice, women's empowerment, and sustainable community development. Through various initiatives, it supports emerging Indigenous leaders, fosters educational opportunities, and champions projects that align with Wilma's holistic approach to nation-building. It serves as a living testament to her belief that the work of empowering communities is never truly finished, and that investment in future generations is paramount. The foundation ensures that her voice continues to advocate for the marginalized and inspire those seeking positive change. Perhaps one of the most powerful aspects of Wilma Mankiller's legacy is the burgeoning number of Indigenous women today who are following in her footsteps. Her ascent broke barriers and shattered stereotypes, proving irrevocably that Native women possess the intellect, strength, and strategic acumen to lead at the highest levels. Across tribal nations, in state legislatures, and even in federal government, a new generation of Indigenous female leaders is emerging, directly inspired by Wilma's courage and example. They are serving as tribal chairs, council members, activists, educators, and innovators, drawing strength from her trailblazing path. Her life story serves as a powerful antidote to historical erasure and a resounding affirmation of the matriarchal spirit inherent in many Indigenous cultures. In these final reflections, it becomes clear why Wilma Mankiller's story matters now more than ever. In a world increasingly fractured by political divides and social inequities, Her life offers a blueprint for bridge building and empathetic governance. In an era where Indigenous rights are still fiercely contested, her unwavering assertion of sovereignty serves as a timeless call to action. And in a society still grappling with gender inequality, her leadership stands as an undeniable proof of women's profound capacity to lead with both strength and compassion. Wilma Mankiller's journey from a small, relocated girl to the revered principal chief of the Cherokee Nation is not merely a historical account. It is a vital, living narrative of resilience, self-determination, and the enduring power of serving one's people. Her eternal voice whispers a powerful truth, that true change begins at home, with humility, and with an unwavering belief in the collective spirit of humanity.